Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm not the chairperson of Budget and Finance Committee, but on his behalf, I'll handle this bill. I'm told the committee is actually concluding on this report, and probably by the time I'd finish moving, they'll have the report in the House, or at least circulated in our online platforms for members to read and give their comments. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill 2025 be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is long overdue, and it's an embarrassment of monumental proportions that it has taken this long to agree on something that is so obvious and rather straightforward to us here in the Senate. Yet, because of reasons that are well known to all of us, it has been a push and pull between us and our colleagues in the National Assembly that has gotten us to the month of March, actually April, because this is the last week of March. It's in the last quarter actually of the financial year that counties are now going to receive funds that otherwise they should have received as early as July 1st, 2024. This is not what our Constitution intended, Mr. Speaker, when we drafted the ornaments of devolution. It was envisioned, Mr. Speaker, that there'd be timely release of funds, that we will agree on basic issues and get our counties up and running. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm saying this is I'd wish to lay basis for many of our colleagues to understand why we're here, and then I'll speak very broadly on this bill. I'll allow the whip, who's a member of the Budget and Finance Committee, to perhaps get into the deeper details. There is history how we started doing this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I served in Budget and Finance Committee. In fact, in the last few weeks, governors, those that understand the operations between us and the National Assembly better, have been calling and texting, asking if we can revert back to the old system. Mr. Speaker, I've had occurrence where I've met leaders, governors who probably have served here in the Senate, and they understand this very unique yet difficult relationship that we have to exist with our colleagues from the National Assembly who don't necessarily sometimes share the same sentiments as us on matters devolution. Previously, all these allocations used to come under division of revenue, and we'd consider one bill, and that will be the end of business. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we observed a trend where the National Treasury would additionally send resources, either through grants or donations or loans, Mr. Speaker, to various counties without following a particular order. And it was increasingly becoming obvious to us by as late as 2017 and 2018, Mr. Speaker, it was clear that there were counties that were benefiting more than others. And you'd find that we have done division of revenue, and we have followed the formula that has been set out by the Senate. Then additionally, there'd be projects that would come up. Let's say the projects that are now listed here, and you've been a governor, you know this, under Danida, Floka, and the rest. The National Treasury will haphazardly make the decision and say, we'll put some to Jamira, others to I don't know which county, and the other to the exclusion of others. We felt this was not the proper format in which devolution should be rolled out in our country. And that is how this bill of the county government's additional allocations came about. We never imagined, though, that decision that was made in the best interest of our counties to ensure that equity reigns supreme as the demands of our Constitution expect of us as a house of used to undermine devolution. This is quite unfortunate that it takes this long, inordinately long, Mr. Speaker, for there to be an agreement, and especially in a context where the Senate is a bystander. You know, Mr. Speaker, of course, unless you're a stranger in this house, you know that it is the RMLF funds that have caused this delay, where we couldn't agree and bills are moved. Sometimes decisions are made without even consultation with the Senate, therefore it gets stuck. And there's just a delay after the other. Before you know it, we are on the 26th or 27th of March, like today, without having considered this particular bill. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to request that we expedite now that there seems to be some headway. And I want to appreciate the diligence of the Budget and Finance Committee that they have quickly considered this bill. The only part where you have failed, Senator Onyonka, Senator Boni, and the rest of the team, is that because you knew you were coming here today, and this was an extremely important business, perhaps you would have furnished us with the report, because now even I, as Majority Leader, I moved the bill without benefiting from the wisdom of you as a committee. I know you will share it perhaps before members comment, but myself I'll not have had the opportunity, maybe unless during the time of replying, because I know the finer details of any bill, Mr. Speaker, are always gotten from the reports of the committee and the members who serve in those committees diligently, listen to the stakeholders, and guide the House into making a decision that is in the best interest of devolution. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Senate is making this rather informed decision to ensure that, pursuant to Article 202 of our Constitution 2, that we are providing an process through which additional allocations for this financial year of 2024-2025 find their ways to the county. Mr. Speaker, this is not a small amount, and I'll rely on the wisdom of the committee members. To the best of my recollection, I think we are talking about in excess of 60 billion shillings. I'm not sure when the whip will be speaking, or Senator Onyonka, or any member of Budget and Finance, they will tell us actually on the 56 billion. So it's close to 60 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker, that needs to go to our counties. Even if that decision, even if we were to pass the bill as urgently as possible and have it concluded, to expect that counties will absorb those funds, knowing very well the processes of government funding, Mr. Speaker, is too much of a push on the side of counties. And some of these donor-funded projects, unfortunately, are time-bound, as such that if it gets, say, to the end of this financial year, then the loan expires and you have to renew the instruments, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, it's a very, very untidy situation. I hope that this never happens again. I don't recall a time where we have moved actually a bill for funding to counties this late into the financial year. This, unless my memory is failing me, to the best of my knowledge, this is the latest it has ever gotten to, and it's really unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. So what are some of these schedule of funds, Mr. Speaker, that you're talking about, and the conditional allocations that are being granted to each county from the national government share of revenue? It includes, Mr. Speaker, funds that are so basic, such as the construction of the county headquarters, a program that began, I think, in 2015, almost 10 years down the line. Even if you're constructing, surely, even if you're the contractor, by the time you're finishing the second floor, then the ground floor has started wearing out. What sort of building is this that you're building for more than 10 years, Mr. Speaker? I am happy that this is the last batch of funds that you're actually dispersing to these 5 counties that have suffered. I hope some were diligent enough to conclude using other resources or get contractors that have better ability and resources, as such that the buildings have been finished up, and these funds only go to actually pay for work that has already been done. That's my prayer. But I know, Mr. Speaker, that it may not necessarily be true. It includes also funds or conditional allocations, Mr. Speaker, to the county aggregation and industrial park program as set out in column C. You know, this program, I still have a lot of questions about it. And members of Budget and Finance Committee, perhaps later in the year, once you are done with this budget making cycle, it will be important that you follow through to your specific counties on what programs your governors are actually laying out to ensure that these KIPES are not white elephant programs. COG, in partnership with the national government, and we support this idea of trying to whip up local goods and produce from our farmers and ensure that there is an aggregation process and a place through which we can enhance their trade. But in most counties, and this I speak from a position of knowledge, apart from the construction of the KIPES, I don't see a concerted effort from the county governments to ensure that the produce is available. Otherwise, you will end up in a situation where there will be a fancy building that has been built in Taita Taveta, Senator Maruma, but then there are no local produce to take to those aggregation parks. There needs to be sensitization from the county governments to ensure that indeed, as expected and as envisioned in the program notes of this particular program, Mr. Speaker, that indeed the produce is available. What are you aggregating if you don't have those produce in the first place? And where is the meeting that has led and spoken to people and said, okay, in this particular area, we want to strengthen either poultry farming, dairy, avocados, whatever that we need to do, so that as of now, the investment into the produce needs to already be happening, so that in another few months, when the KIPE centers are ready, then the farmers are also, and the local cooperatives and CBOs are ready with the produce. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, unless perhaps maybe there are governors who are more diligent than the ones that I know, Mr. Speaker, then this is something that is of great concern to me. Conditional allocation for community health promoters, CHPs, Mr. Speaker, and this is a big problem, because I know for a fact that there are many counties where CHPs actually continue to wait on this. And you know, the unfortunate bit, Mr. Speaker, is that you will find that CHPs have received the matching funds from the national government, but counties are being blamed that they have not paid CHPs actually. But what will they have used to pay with? Here's the funds now. Today is when, once you pass the additional allocation bill, Mr. Speaker, is when now it becomes possible for our counties. Whether for programs such as this one of KIPES that are in all the 47 counties, for programs such as this one of CHPs that are in all the 47 counties, is there a need to budget these funds separate from DORA, especially having learned from the experience of what this additional allocation business has taught us this current financial year? Remember the history that I painted earlier on how we found ourselves doing this particular bill, that we just wanted to ensure that there is equity in programs. Senate needed to have visibility and ensure that if there are additional funds going to counties, they are not skewed to benefit just a few counties. But programs such as this one of CHPs, KIPES, that are in all the 47 counties, it is my considered humble view, Senator Boni Halwale and all the members of Budget and Finance Committee, that perhaps these are funds that we can include in DORA, as such that once we have decided on how much is going to the counties, Mr. Speaker, then there is no business as what we are having presently, where counties are CHPs are saying, we have received the share from the national government, but county governments are not paying. We have to make a better decision, Mr. Speaker. There is also arrears, actually, salary arrears for county governments' health workers. No wonder they are always outside this particular Senate every other week. I have actually taken great concern, and there is something that I'm doing about it as a leader and somebody passionate about devolution, that we must be embarrassed, apart from just the usual decision that you make. You know, many times I see when people come to demonstrate here, senators join them, and we say, oh yeah, we are going to fight for your rights, and that's the end of business. We must be a bit serious as leaders, you know, Mr. Speaker. You can't be granted legislative powers. Then, when people come to demonstrate, this time you join them and say, we'll think about it. Next year they come back again, you're still telling them, we'll do something about it. Surely, Mr. Speaker, we have to do something about this space of health workers in our counties, Mr. Speaker. Apart from this proposal, the funding model that is being proposed here in this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, there's just something that is not right in the architecture. And you must celebrate what happened to the teachers and think towards that particular line, Mr. Speaker, because when teachers ensure that they have a body that is representative here at the national level and looks into all their affairs, Mr. Speaker, in the form of TSC, we should have thought about something for the health workers as well. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to speak longer than that. The funds that are listed for the one that proceeds of the loans or grants for from the development partners, there are quite a number. There is DANIDA, which is supporting primary health in developed context. There is IDA and KISIP, the informal sector improvement project. This is another, and Senator Osotsi, I'm not sure whether it's your committee that looks into this particular specially allocated funds. Because if there are funds that have been wasted in our county governments, it is particularly this program. I don't know whether it is the way that it was designed, but the one where county governments are doing something in partnership with the national on the informal sectors. Apart from Kabro and the small works that are being done there, looking into the amounts actually that are being committed and the work that is being done is something that we expect your committee to lead us. Of course, there is even money for finance emergency of locust response project. Remember, there was a conversation about it. FLOCA, which is a local-led action on county climate resilience investment. This one at least is a grant, but it doesn't mean that even if it is a grant, it is money that should be wasted. Should be used prudently. It's a grant to the people of our counties, and therefore should be used fairly well, Mr. Speaker. There is this other one of National Agriculture Value Chain Development Product. This is what I was talking about earlier, Senator Maruma, that should be the complement of the KIPES, that this program should be able to help our farmers at a local level begin to generate sufficient produce that will be aggregated into the KIPES. But so long as there is no correlation and people are just obsessed about who becomes a contractor of these projects or who does the shades, you know, we live in a very funny country, Mr. Speaker, that we must begin perhaps to move. If this money must be wasted, Mr. Speaker, and it's really unfortunate I have to say this, if this money must be wasted, then I'd rather it be wasted by ordinary citizens themselves, as opposed, Mr. Speaker, to allocating funds to people who will only be obsessed with building shades and structures, Mr. Speaker, and moving out of that particular place without any direct benefit to the ordinary citizens. So these special funds, we must perhaps maybe ask for a project implementation report, how they were eventually used, what has been their success. And you know the unfortunate bit, Mr. Speaker, is that they have very funny long names. So to keep track even is not easy. Even you as a senator, you'll get easily confused. Because fundings that end up in our county governments and the expected impact in the lives of ordinary citizens is something that bothers us. Finally, Mr. Speaker, is the KDSP, the Kenya Devolution Support Program, are set out in column J, and there's a listing of how much is going to each and every county, you know. Then there are other things about Cabinet Secretary publishing by 15th day of each subsequent month, a monthly report on actual transfers of additional allocations to county governments disbursed. This one we did as well in Dora. Then last, and perhaps the last thing that I'd say, is that the county treasury shall include the consolidated quarterly and annual reports that include PFM Act, which is the actual transfer from the national government, the expenditures, and their compliance with the provisions of the Act. A very important report that we expect. Therefore, with those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, the listing is there of how much is going to each county. And this is as the bill came, Mr. Speaker. I want to believe that our colleagues from Budget and Finance Committee will actually guide us on what additional amendments actually they are proposing to the House. And I want to say that even without seeing the amendments, that I already support their position, because I'm aware of some of the proposals that have been made there. With those very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to request the whip of a majority side, who is a member of a Budget and Finance Committee, to second and help us understand better even more salient issues that perhaps I may have missed in my moving notes. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, debate keeps on raging in this country on who is the actual enemy of devolution. It is not too clear, but I'm starting to think that senators, governors, and members of the National Assembly are actually enemies of devolution, including myself. Mr. Speaker, I say this with maximum respect, because the object of this bill is a simple thing. Provide a tool to transfer additional funds from the national government to the devolved governments in accordance with the recommendation of the Constitution. So, the process was done, as you'll remember, and at its tail end, the recommendations which came from the first enemy, members of the National Assembly, then disagreed with us. So we sat and disagreed with them, then created a mediation committee, and when you sent us to that mediation committee, Mr. Speaker, we were shown the middle finger. To hell with it. And this is why, Leader of the Majority, we are now dealing with this business at the end of the financial year. The donors must be thinking we are mad people. Because what has happened is that the borrowed money has left the respective banks of those countries. The money is with the National Treasury. Those countries are already charging interest. But as the money is at the National Treasury, because senators, members of the National Assembly, and governors are quarreling, cannot agree, and governors and members of the National Assembly are quarreling. Do we really want devolution to succeed? Senator Osoti is in this house. We were at some informal meeting yesterday, Mr. Speaker, but important because it brought together senators, members of the National Assembly, governors, permanent secretaries, cabinet secretaries from a certain region of this country. And when we were in that meeting, in his wisdom, Senator Osoti brought up this matter. And he was supported by the governor of Busia, Paul Otuoma. Do you know, shamelessly, the meeting almost went into disarray. Members of the National Assembly who were attending booed these two leaders in front of the president. We are not serious. And as the leader of the majority has told the country, the real reason is because members of the National Assembly want to benefit from the contracts that will arise from these additional funds. Some of them are contractors. Mr. Speaker, what do we do? And if one of you is not doing any of these things, they say you are not woke. You are not up to it. If you are really woke, you should be one of the people participating in those contracts so that you look rich and live large. We are at a place whereby we have to speak of revenue raised nationally. I'll go to the specifics. Then in the second schedule, we've made it easy. We have segregated the 10.5 billion shillings that governors and MPs are fighting over the road maintenance levy. That we have created a second schedule for clarity. And in the third schedule, we have put money that is realized from court fines that are collected at various points where we have courts in the counties. And in the final schedule, we have then created a schedule showing the loans and grants. Having simplified it that way, Mr. Speaker, we have taken the first important step which we are asking this House to support this morning. Namely, we have removed from the bill any mention of that thing, road maintenance levy. It is a debate that cannot end. We have removed it completely from the bill. Until the courts have made a decision. Because if you do anything here, it brings in the long story of sub judice and so on and so forth. So we have put it aside completely. Then we have remained with those 3 schedules. So there are these 3 schedules that I want to speak to for you to appreciate so as to pass it quickly this morning. And in the first schedule, Mr. Speaker, the 7.54 billion will go towards construction of the stalled headquarters at those 5 counties that you all know. The second one will go to KAIPS, County Aggregated Industrial Parks. They are going to be undertaken in only 19. And this money has been enhanced, Mr. Speaker, from 2 billion by the National Treasury to 2.9. Now, when you look at your schedule, your county might or might not benefit. So don't slow down the process by saying, okay, my county has not benefited and therefore I'm not going to support. It is because the National Treasury, and we have agreed with them as a committee, has phased out this process because the money is not enough. Phased out 18 counties, phase 1, phase 2, 18 counties, and finally phase 3, 11 counties. At the end of the phasing, everybody will have gotten the 250 million meant for this. So even if your county like Kakamega is not benefiting, we still, like my Kakamega, we still pass it. Mr. Speaker, and then of course there is the issue of the community health promoters. It is in there with a salary of 3.234 billion shillings and basic salary for county health workers worth 1.7 and transfer of museums to these counties, because museum under the constitution is supposed to have been devolved, but it was delayed. So we are cleaning it up, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the third schedule, which is fines, it is up to 116.92 shillings. We have decided to pass it, quote unquote, to us. The National Treasury just us out 116 million shillings. What is the authenticity of that figure? When money is in Mombasa and it is taken to the consolidated fund, now we declare to us that Senate, go and share it out. That the and that they did not collect more. It has created a window for theft of public funds. He has this morning directed that not the National Treasury, written to the Auditor General, because we believe that in Senator, the whole for 2 financial years, only 116 million. More. Stabbed and audit, it will be done. The final schedule, which is long, it is the one that contains a share of the amount of money. It is 35.66 billion shillings. By saying all the loans, describing them, then in the schedule you're going to see that is where biggest shame that the leader of the majority is speaking to. We having money to, and because of some funny interests, we are. I therefore want to conclude seconding this, the majority in the committee by the state who enabled us to come up with this. And colleagues, In fact, today we started at 7 a.m. We just finished. We've tried to do a good job. We are to be agree with us so that we can make progress. I thank you, all of you. Remarks, Mr. Speaker.
To put the question that the county government